Brad, you're on mute.
Thanks, Bianca. Didn't realise that. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the industry for inviting me along to open the Women in Transport Mentoring event this morning. It's a great pleasure to join you all, even if remotely, for those within the metropolitan area of Melbourne, and broader Victoria. It's incredibly pleasing to see the progress being made to our state, and Melbourne in particular returning to a more COVID-safe environment. So exciting times ahead, I'm sure you'll agree. Before we kick off this morning, it does fall upon me to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, no matter where you're joining us from, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and to emerging and future leaders of community. Well, what an exciting journey we're having through the Women in Transport Mentoring Program. It is one of the programs within the Women in Transport strategy that the Victorian Government is with industry and its lead agencies driving to advance gender equity across our industry and promote our industry as a diverse and vibrant industry in which all people can make valued contributions. And I think it's a testament to the fact of the success of the program, just in some of the results that we're seeing in what is really quite a short period of time. So for those of you who may not be aware, by the end of this year, we'll have seen more than 1,000 people from across our industry participate in the Women in Transport Mentoring Program. In fact, 1,071 women will have participated in this program, resulting in over 549 mentoring matches. That is a significant achievement, and is a testament to the value that our industry sees in this particular program in advancing and raising the visibility of female contribution within our industry today. I'm sure you will agree. It was also reflected in a recent Women in Transport Impact Survey that was circulated to participants of the program. We had more than 55 mentees respond through that survey. 49% reported having been promoted since participating through the program. So another significant achievement in, I suppose, highlighting contributions of women within the program and helping them advance in terms of being promoted and given more access to opportunities to diversify their skill sets and supporting women to bring their highest contributions to our industry. So again, more significant advancement there. I think of particular note, we are changing as an industry and we are evolving for the better as an industry, but our journey is only just beginning and there is far more work to do in this particular space. We are making inroads to breaking down structural barriers and shifting away from the image that transport is a man's world. We know that if we are truly going to be inclusive, if we are truly going to be vibrant and attract the brightest talent to our industry, we need to think and act differently. And I'm really, really encouraged at the way that the transport industry in particular is breaking down those structural barriers and really advancing and leading the charge in terms of making sure that everybody's contribution is equal. Everyone has the opportunity of being able to bring those talents and those contributions to our industry so that we can truly amplify the impacts and continue to deliver world's best public transport services for Victorians. And we're seeing this in many different ways. And some recent examples of that are breaking down structural barriers to onboarding and recruitment practices and processes within our industries. And this is really, really encouraging to see that particular roles that have often been viewed as the domain of men, that are hypermasculine roles within our industries, are starting to shift and change. And our recruitment practices are changing to a much more inclusive way of operating. Recent examples being V-Line, currently recruiting for trainee drivers that are actively advertising to attract women to apply for these trainee train drivers roles. Absolutely brilliant action towards shifting some of those paradigms. MTM and Yarra Trams have also been very active in this space over the years as well, to attract women into roles that have been traditionally carved out and earmarked for men. And I mean, it's a huge testament to the industry in terms of how far we've come and how far we're continuing to drive and break down these barriers and these misaligned systems that have had shackles on our industry for far too long. We're also seeing significant advancement in terms of breaking down, once again, operational legacies that are misaligned with current key policy positions to drive gender equity across our industry. And some of those are really accelerating at some really rapid paces. So recent examples you will see certainly across a lot of MTIA construction work sites, a shift to all gender toilet facilities, removing male toilet facilities to be able to once again create environments where women and transgender women feel safe to be able to participate within major construction transport projects. Significant changes to shifting paradigms, removing unconscious bias to be able to be friendly and open for all people to come and participate in Victoria's big build and deliver exceptional major transport infrastructure reform for not only this current period of rail infrastructure construction renaissance, but for the future of rail and transport into the future. So that's incredibly pleasing to see also. We're also seeing a shift in terms of what the industry views as the way we work within our industry. And I think, you know, if there have been any positive things that have actually come out of this devastating COVID situation, is that it has challenged entrenched traditional ways of working within our industry to a much more flexible and inclusive way of working, where remote working, flexible hours, job share arrangements have truly been embraced by not only our industry and our government, but all governments around the world. And I believe this is one of the most beneficial impacts of this devastating virus that we have seen as a result of challenging the way we work. And I know that it will be and will endure well beyond this pandemic, that we will have much more flexibility to support all people, not just women, into the future, to work remotely and flexibly so that we once again can retain the brightest and continue to support talent into the future across the transport industry. So that's a significant shift in the ways that we work today, and we will continue to do it. But I do impress upon the industry, we need champions of change and people that are promoting not only within the Women in Transport program, but in all of the Women in Transport strategy initiatives that continue to be delivered across the industry, across our sector. We need champions, we need advocacy, we need people to amplify vocally and through their actions to advance all gender equality measures, so that it is always at the front of everyone's mindset when they are making decisions, when they are informing policy positions, when they are looking at breaking down systemic barriers to workforce inclusion, that they are challenging misaligned mindsets at all levels of our organisations and industries, so that we continue to amplify these impacts and these results for a brighter future and a better industry. There is a lot more being done within the Department of Transport in collaboration with our industry to shape the next generation of female inclusion and gender equity policy positions currently. And I'm really excited at some of the new initiatives that are being proposed by our industry to continue to build and advance on the work that has been implemented over the last couple of years. And I know when those announcements come forward over the coming months, the industry will embrace and run with these initiatives, and will continue to see greater change, accelerated change that will see more women and more gender balance across our industry for a brighter future. I wish you all the very best. Please remain safe and keep safe with your families. And here's to building on a brighter, more diverse and gender balanced transport industry for all Victorians into the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Brad, for that opening. I couldn't agree more. My name is Bianca Nutt. I'm the Inclusion and Social Procurement Advisor at the Level Crossing Removal Project, and I'm very happy to be leading the Women in Transport Mentoring Program on behalf of the Department of Transport, together with Lizzie Kuth. Together we work on delivering that mentoring program. I just wanted to mention that this session is being recorded as well, but all of your videos and microphones are turned off. And we'll be sending a recording of the session to everybody afterwards. So if you wanted to share that with any potential mentors that you know of across industry as well. So thank you all for coming along. This morning, our goal is really to inspire you to apply as mentors to this program. We've been blessed across the last 3 years to have many senior and experienced mentors volunteer their time in this program. But we're always looking for more mentors, and we're always looking for more diverse mentors. We're hoping that some of you, some of those future mentors, are among the 80 to 90 people who have joined us here this morning. And look, while I can share what I think are some of the benefits of the program, and I will, today we have called in some help from our friends. So first we'll be hearing from Lucy Lloyd. She's the CEO and co-founder of the online platform Mentorloop that assists us to deliver this program, but she'll be sharing her thoughts on why mentoring is so important. We'll then hear from some past program participants. We'll have Philippa Lytzki, Stanisic, and Judy Gao. They are 2 mentors and a mentee, and they'll be joining a panel discussion where you can ask questions about their experiences and tips for potential mentors. And Lucy will also be joining that panel discussion as well, so you can ask her some questions about mentoring. We'll aim to finish up at about 10:30. So I'll give some information about the program itself fairly administratively. All of that information is in the program guidelines, which some of you may have seen, but which we'll also share following today's session. The program runs twice a year for 6 months, although we hope, and it is often the case, that the mentoring relationships that are started through the program do continue beyond the life of the program as well. The next round of the program will run from February to July of next year, and applications open in just a few weeks on November 5th, and they close on December the 15th. Once the applications close, we start matching mentees with the mentors. Now, this is done in a custom way, manually, but with the help of Mentorloop, which uses the information that you put into your online application form to match you with a mentee. So, for example, if a mentee has said in their application that they would like to develop skills in networking, contract management, and working on site, what we can do is Mentorloop can suggest mentors who said that they have skills in those areas. Given that we have 400 odd applications each round, that greatly helps us filter down the matches and really look at each individual's profile and make some quality matches there. Across the 6-month program, there are 3 touch points for participants, for both mentees and mentors. There are monthly face-to-face meetings between mentees and mentors. We suggest that they go for an hour once a month. Obviously, during the current restrictions in the world that we're living in, they will be done online or on the telephone. We also suggest things like having a walking meeting. We also send each month a guidance to all participants. It's really just a PDF with some tips in there. The intention for that guidance is to offer structure to your monthly meetings, to help you develop the mentoring relationship, and to set and progress the mentee's goals, which are really key to these relationships. The third touch point for the program is 3 professional development sessions, which are staggered across the 6 months. For the first round of the year, they are held in February, April, and July. They would usually be held in the CBD, at a venue in the CBD. Otherwise, we're holding them online at the moment. And these sessions are facilitated. We have had some fantastic keynote speakers from across industry. We've had the Victorian chief architect come along. We've had just some fantastic female success stories hearing there, which is a fantastic bonus, I think, for this program, that you have this exposure to successful women across transport, and you get to know them both as your mentees, keynote speakers, and other mentors and mentees as well. The sessions cover topics such as leadership and working styles, as well as tips on making the most of your mentoring relationship. And as program coordinators, Lizzie and myself are always here to offer assistance as well. I think the final part of the program is that a year after it's been completed, we do actually get back in touch with participants to see if the relationship has continued and to see how the mentees have progressed in their careers. So we have actually just wrapped up a survey of the first round. It's been 1 year on now since our first round's finished. And as Brad said, 49% of people, of the mentees who did that survey, have been promoted, which is just a fantastic result. And I'm really happy to hear that. Before I move on, I'm going to try to make things a little bit interactive, and this is the first time that I've done this on Zoom, so bear with me if it doesn't work all to plan. We all know that currently women make up just 21% of those working in the transport portfolio, but I thought there might be some statistics that you don't know, and I'm curious as to what you think the correct figure might be. So I'm going to ask a question, and then please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen when you hear the answer that you think is right. So a little bit of a multiple choice. So hopefully everybody can see that little raised hands function there. So earlier this year, Tradeswomen Australia did some research, and they found that women apply for more jobs than men before they get an interview in our industry. How many more jobs do women need to apply for than men in order to get an interview? Do you think it's twice as many, 6 times as many, 12 times as many, or, sorry, twice as many, 6 times as many, or 12 times? So A, B, or C? Okay, I'm getting a lot of hands up here, and I can't tell which response that was for, but it's an interesting process anyway. So the correct answer is actually 12 times as many. So in the trades industry, women need to apply for 12 more jobs before they get an interview. So that's quite an interesting stat there, I thought. Another quick question. So of the 500 mentors that we've had throughout our program, how many have been men? Would it be 10, 90, or 200? Getting a few responses there. So the correct answer is 90. So of the 500 mentors, 90 of them have been men. But we are seeing that number increasing, which is fantastic. So for example, in the first round of this year, 46 of the mentors were men, which is almost half. So that's really fantastic. And it's something I'll talk to in a minute as well, but this program, you know, it really has benefits for mentors. The last little question that I'll do, how many different employers do you think have been represented in the program? So how many different workplaces have had staff participate in the program? Has it been 7, 20, or 90? Okay. Great. Well, the correct answer is 90, actually 94, which for me, I'm really happy about that. I think that it shows that there is demand for this program across the industry, across both the government sector and the private business sector. So almost 100 different employers have been represented in the program, and that's just in the last 2 years. So I think that's really fantastic. So just getting on now to some of the benefits of the program that our past participants have found. They found that actually it's a great way as mentors to experience people coaching. So, which is really great for current people managers and people leaders, as well as those who are wanting more experiences as a people leader. So if that's something that you're not now, but you're considering doing and you haven't done it before, I really think that mentoring this program is a good way to test those waters, whilst also, of course, you know, giving back to industry. Some of our mentors have said that they have really great increased confidence, both in their professional role, as their role as people leaders already, if that's what their position is, and just increase confidence in terms of their position in industry, and really reflecting on the fact that, wow, I have been in this industry for a long time, and you know, as a result of that, I do have really strong connections. I do have some really great knowledge and experience to share with women coming through the industry. Of course, knowing that you're giving back to industry and paying it forward is a benefit. And increasing your network. As I mentioned, particularly when we are able to hold the professional development sessions in person, we start off with a bit of networking over breakfast, and that benefits mentees and mentors equally. You can learn something new, not just in the sessions, but from your mentee. In fact, reverse mentoring is a practice that the program delves into as well. And you may surprise yourself. You may find that you're a natural mentor and even a people leader if that's something that you haven't considered doing before. Another thing that we do in the program is that we like to encourage mentees to take that extra step and become a mentor. I like to think that our program is a very safe environment. And quite a lot of our mentees have gone on to be a mentor in the program too. And particularly because our applicants come from a wide array of backgrounds and length of time in the transport industry, even if you might see yourself as quite junior in the industry, there may well be someone more junior than you who you will be a fantastic mentor for. So before we move on to hear from Lucy, there is a short video that we've just finalised yesterday that we can hear from some of our past participants. So Lizzie and Michelle, if we can play that video, that'd be fantastic. Should come up in a minute. Okay, I'm not sure this is going to come up, and we are running a little bit over time. So what we can do, I think, is we'll share that video after the session along with the program guidelines and a recording of the session. So we'll just hold off on the video for today. So now I would like to introduce Lucy Lloyd, who, as I mentioned, she's the CEO and co-founder of Mentorloop. Now, while Mentorloop is the online platform that we use to support our delivery of the program, and it makes it possible to effectively manage a program of this scale, Lucy's passion, if I'm correct, isn't particularly IT software, it's mentoring. So welcome, Lucy.
Thanks so much, Bianca, and good morning, everybody. I'll just share my screen to make sure we're all systems go. But thanks so much for having me. What a wonderful, inspiring thing to be involved with on this beautiful sunny morning in Melbourne. My name is Lucy Lloyd. I'm CEO and co-founder of Mentorloop. And yeah, for me, mentoring comes first and the tech comes second, that's definite. So I'm just going to speak to you quickly about why mentoring, why we started Mentorloop, and then run through a little bit of what we call our mentoring manifesto. So some truths that have revealed themselves to us over the course of our experience building the Mentorloop company. We're a relatively young software company. We've only been in operation for just about 4 years, basically, and where it's a privilege to work with organisations like Women in Transport, who are building such a thriving, self-sustaining community of mentors and mentees. It's really wonderful, and yeah, it's great for the soul to be involved in something like this, where people are actually affecting change in their industry. So there's this popular idea out there about mentoring, and it revolves around the concept of the chosen one. So that mentoring relationships are these kind of exclusive, formed behind closed doors relationships that are available to the special few. They're available to people who already have access to great networks, who are potentially building something that's going to change the world, and therefore they're connected with this mentor. So the example in that picture that you can see there is Mark Zuckerberg talking to Steve Jobs. But we don't necessarily buy into this popular idea. We prefer to think of mentoring as something that's accessible to everybody. We believe the right connection can change your life, but we believe that making it accessible is the missing piece that we have. Not everybody's born with the right network. Not everybody's geographically or through other opportunities able to access those life-changing connections that give them a slightly different perspective and help them become a better version of themselves. And that's what our mission is here at Mentorloop, to make those connections available to everybody. So this is my co-founder Heidi and I. We do a lot of laughing, and where we kind of came up with the idea of Mentorloop was we were having a glass of wine together and discussing our own careers, as you kind of inevitably do with your friends. Like what's missing for us? What are we navigating? How do we break into this new industry? How do I level up to become this manager or achieve this new skill set? And we just found that this issue of access was what was missing. So we thought, well, what if we built a dating site for online mentoring relationships? So what if we just made it easier for people to make those connections? What if we were able to remove the admin burden and make, mentoring something that anyone could be involved in? And so that's what we did. So taking it back even further, the reason mentoring was really kind of relevant to both of us at that time was that Heidi had started her previous business, which was also a tech business. I'd recently moved back to Melbourne from a little bit of time in London, and I was trying to navigate the local scene. And both of us were kind of new entrants into this tech space. And as such, we didn't know where to start from a kind of navigating the local scene perspective, but we also felt kind of a little bit like imposters. We felt like we didn't necessarily belong, and so we'd go to events, or we'd go to kind of these tech panels and things like that, and we just felt like frauds. And the reason we felt like frauds was because we didn't match the pattern that we saw around us. And so when you are a minority in a particular industry, or when you're trying to break into something and you don't match that pattern that you see around you, even if you can't articulate it, you might feel a little bit of discomfort, And, this, what I'm kind of referring to here is imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is one of those, it's a little bit of a new kind of almost like a pop psychology term, but it does, it is real, and it applies to both men and women, of course. But the problem with imposter syndrome is that when you do I guess, close in on yourself and you feel like, oh, I don't actually belong here. I don't necessarily know as much as all of the people around me, or I don't have the same skills or networks as the people around me. You actually turn inwards and you start to think, okay, well, I need to prove myself. You know, I can do it on my own. I can be, you know, as good as everybody else around me, and I need to, you know, prove it. And in that way, you actually kind of can potentially close yourself off from opportunities. What's really important is that we don't close off in these moments, and instead we open up, we ask for help. And asking for help for us at Mentorloop, that's the new superpower. You know, nobody's going to know everything. We can all Google a lot of things, you know, in our own time, but really the new superpower and the way to level up, the way to overcome that imposter syndrome is to ask for help. And, you know, it doesn't need to be help. It could just be, you know, not necessarily from a mentor hugely senior to you. It could just be from your peers and exchanging those kind of peer lessons that we have. But, you know, that asking for help piece and through the very act of engaging in a mentoring program, you're doing it. That's the superpower that can help you take yourself to that next level. So at Mentorloop, as I discussed, we're about making mentoring mainstream, more accessible, and we're also here to help. I know Bianca and Lizzie are, of course, here to help. Mentorloop, our team, is in the background as well, if you ever have any questions about mentoring specifically. So before I finish up and hand back to Bianca to run the panel that I'm looking forward to experiencing as well, I just wanted to talk to a few of our mentoring manifesto points. So these are things that, you know, we've realised or we've come to believe over the 4 years plus that we've been working on Mentorloop, because of course we started a long time before we actually started the business, started thinking about it. So first is, when left to happen accidentally, mentoring favours the bold. And so it's kind of what I was alluding to at the start, you know, the kind of mentoring that just happens by default often favours people who already have great access to networks, who already, you know, back themselves to ask a question. And it potentially leaves people out. And so with Mentorloop, we're looking to build a structure. And with the Women in Transport mentoring program, of course, we're looking to just build some guidelines so that people can operate, and, you know, it's easier to ask for help. By default, like with like mentoring forms. So that's an extension of that first point. So where, you know, you can kind of all picture it happening, where a senior person sees something of themselves in an up-and-comer and takes them under their wing. But that means that, you know, often they've got a commonality and what we call like with like mentoring forms. We believe the real value comes from enabling the non-obvious connections. And Bianca alluded earlier to Women in Transport's wish to get more men involved as mentors in the mentoring program. And we wholeheartedly agree with that. You know, this isn't about creating a space for, you know, women to just be kind of streamed off by themselves. It's actually about fostering the conditions for women to thrive, to enhance their visibility, as Bradley said earlier. And so we don't want, you know, just all women mentoring women. We want to create more diversity of mentoring connections, because it's through that kind of non-obvious connection that the real amazing insight on both sides comes out. There's more than one type of mentor. So, you know, sometimes, you know, you will find that one person who can be this consistency throughout your career, and you can check in with them on a regular basis. But I'd also encourage you to be open to what we call building your personal advisory board. So you might have one mentor who's a bit of a cheerleader, you know, they've always got your back. And you might have another mentor who's, you know, potentially a critic, who challenges you and makes you kind of, you know, turns that mirror back on yourself. Next, great mentoring is not hierarchical, it's reciprocal. So we do believe it's a two-way street. Both parties benefit. You know, we don't view mentoring as a kind of a conveying of wisdom from one party. We believe it as an exchange of, you know, experience for enthusiasm, for example, and both sides emerge richer for the experience. We also believe that, you know, you don't necessarily have to think of seniority as being the only marker of a great mentor. Sometimes great insights can come from people who are only a couple of months ahead of you. You know, when you do have a mentor who's, let's say, you know, years and years ahead of you, they can sometimes have a bit of survivorship bias that, you know, meant that they always made the right decisions. And really what you want is to gather a collection of different insights to help you navigate your own path. We also believe there's no such thing as self-made. You know, we all benefit from like sponsorship, role models, mentoring, etc. You know, no man is an island, and no woman either. And it goes back to that, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help. It is such a powerful thing to be able to, you know, admit that you need help and be able to harness that help to develop into the next version of yourself. We do believe that the mentee should buy the coffee, and it's not just about the coffee or the wine or the beer, it depends how you engage, but also does a bit of the heavy lifting in terms of setting the agenda. You know, we see mentors visibly relax when a mentee arrives at a meeting and says, I've got 3 things to talk to you about today, because it just, you know, it removes that burden from them of you know, driving the conversation, and it also just contributes to such a much more I guess, outcomes-based conversation if the mentee actually has thought about some goals and what they want to workshop. And finally, the delayed thank you is something that we believe strongly in at Mentorloop. So of course, say thank you in the moment. Thanks for the meeting. Write a little note afterwards to say thank you, etc. But you know, mentoring casts, you know, it's kind of has a ripple effect over the course of your career, and so it may be 6 months later that you realize that you've you know, navigated to a particular point and you've been on this trajectory as a result of just a very, what seemed a minor conversation, you know, 6 months ago. So remember that and hold on to it and reach out to that mentor who you had the conversation with 6 months ago to give that more meaningful thank you of this, you know, you said this, it led me to change my behavior this way, and now here is the result, thank you. Because not only will it make you feel great, but it also, you know, it just reinforces all the positivity of mentoring. You know, mentoring is not just a linear thing, it's a cyclical thing, and we want to, you know, continue to reinforce how wonderful it is and create that flywheel effect. But of course, do both. You know, I think there isn't enough gratitude to bring to the privilege of a mentoring relationship on both sides. That's it from me. I'm going to hand back to Bianca to kick off the panel discussion, but I'll stick around in case there's any questions for me. And yeah, as I say, thanks so much for having us. It's wonderful for Mentorloop to be a part of a program like this that is so, yeah, so rich and thriving and just going from strength to strength. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Lucy. And look, Lucy and I sometimes see our mentee-mentor matching processes as a little bit like matchmaking. So that's interesting that you also envisioned Mentorloop a little bit like a dating site for mentoring. I also love the idea that asking for help is a new superpower. And look, for me personally too, whether it's as a mentee or a mentor, having a structured program that matches you takes away some of the nervousness in approaching a potential mentor. And in doing so, I think that the program really gives access for those for whom boldness does not come naturally. So for me, I think that's, yeah, a really good strength of the program as well. And we also most certainly encourage mentees to drive the program. So for potential mentors, people who are thinking about becoming mentors today, that is actually really important. So we ask our mentees to come to the meetings not with an open slate, just trying to magically receive your wisdom and your experiences, but they actually come to you as mentors with questions and with specific goals. And different mentors as well. So our mentees can and do reapply for the program and be matched with a mentor that offers them different things. And similarly, our mentors often participate more than once. The 2 who join us for our panel discussion today, they have each participated in the program in 3 different rounds, which I think speaks very highly of the program, I like to think. So I'll kick off the panel discussion and introduce those mentors and our mentee. So we have Philippa Lytzki today. She's a senior IT and project manager who's worked at Keolis Downer Yarra Trams and is soon beginning a new journey with Adelaide Metro Trains. We also have Mario Stanisic, who has over 20 years experience in Victoria's rail industry, and he's currently the multimodal authorised officer manager at Metro Trains Melbourne. Not all of our participants work in rail and not all are on site. So our mentee, Judy Gao, she's Strategic Communications Support Advisor at the Major Road Projects Victoria. She was a mentee in the program, and we have asked her to join us today to offer her thoughts on how having a mentor has and is shaping her career in transport. So please ask questions to the panel via the chat function, and I'll present them to the panel. You should also be able to maybe like other people's questions as well. That way I know that they're particularly interesting questions. And you can ask questions to either the whole panel, or you can call out particular people as well, for example, just the mentors. So while we wait for some questions to come through, I might just ask our mentors, Mario and Philippa, was there anything unexpected that you learned about yourself throughout the program? either about yourself, about mentoring, or about women in transport? Mario or Philippa?
I'll kick it off, I suppose. Morning, everybody. Yeah, for me, it was just an opportunity to jump on board, something that's really exciting. Bradley touched on it earlier. Today, we've got an opportunity to help give people growth opportunities and career pathways, I suppose, one way or another. It's an absolute privilege to be involved. And one thing I certainly learned was the enjoyment I get of paying it forward in terms of providing those insights. I've had some experience over the journey. I've had, some really, really good mentors that I've had an opportunity to work with. And now I'm in a privileged position to be able to pay it forward.
So from my point of view, I think I agree with what you're saying, Mario. Even though you always know that you're told that it's a reciprocal arrangement and both parties will get out of it, it has been very pleasant, the value that I have got from it. Just the interest in exchanging with people who are much earlier in their career than myself. I've found that quite rejuvenating in some ways, and it's enabled me to reflect on the way I go about things, which a little bit more deeply than perhaps I would otherwise.
Thanks, Philippa. We've just had one question come through. So transport is a very large field. How did you navigate the differences in day-to-day work and the impact on career goals? So I think that one might be for Philippa, Mario, maybe Judy as well, being in transport. So with transport being such a large field, there might be differences between, I think maybe between the mentee and the mentor's different roles, the differences in their day-to-day work and the impact that might have on the mentee's career goals.
I probably can share with it. I'm new to Victoria public sector and MRPV when I start MRPV in January. And I joined the mentoring program 6 months later because I was a bit lost because DOT was new and it's a huge, big department for me. And I have a strong desire because I have demonstrated my other potential as well. And so I'll probably to try to find opportunity to get a career change. I feel the same difficulty, feel is so big and how I search it. And I do agree with Lucy. I feel like I have done everything I can do within my resources. And so there's a gap. I need help. So the only thing I can do is to ask for help. So I joined the mentoring program and my mentor helped me to get me settling in, to understand the huge system of the department, the state government, and also to identify my potentials and give me expectations and encourage me to try to search where I should fit in the future. And also it's not only the mentoring program, I'm amazed by all the DOT leaders because I searched on the jobs exchange and then I found this job is really interesting, but I'm not really sure whether I'm suitable. I just shooting an email to the manager to say, can we have a coffee catch up? I have better coffee. As Lucy said, like a mentee should be better coffee. They were very busy. They were directors, they were managers. Their schedule was full, but they still try their best to make time. All the manager I approach, they make time for me to have a coffee catch up. And they encourage me. And it's not only for the job, it's to like give me an overall understanding of what the job they're doing. So just search in the sea and raise your hands and let people to come to you to help, and you go to them to ask for help.
Thanks so much, Judy. I think this is a really great question for our mentors, Philippa and Mario. So how do you draw goals out of a mentee when they don't know what they're wanting or what they're looking for?
Shall I start, Mario?
Go for it.
I think getting the conversation going, just having a talking to them as you would, anybody, a friend, asking about their life, and general questions. And I think through that you can pick a couple of threads that you might be able to follow to help them realise, and then you can summarise that at the end. And I've found that can get the ball rolling. And so the next session, you ask, okay, did you think about those things? And then they get it. That it's not big, massive goals that people are, it's often just the small things and the threads of improvement that's meant, not some, I think sometimes people get a bit carried away with having to define some huge goal.
For mine, I think it's very similar to yourself, where we get to know the mentee for the first time around. Quickly try and understand pros and cons. Where do they want to be in time to come, in terms of what is it that they like doing? What is it that they don't like? And quickly forming a bit of a strategy from that point forward as to areas to concentrate on one way or another. And I've often found that once you have that icebreaker moment, the conversation generally flows fairly easily from that point forward. And lo and behold, by the end of the session, we've got a loosely arrangement in place as to things to concentrate on. We'll formalise it outside of the next meeting and give the mentee that opportunity to go away, have a good think, and see if that's exactly where they want to head in the near foreseeable future.
Thanks, Mario. I think with the goal setting, I'll pass to you. I just saw that too. Sorry. Part of the program in the monthly guidance that we send out in the very first month, so in month one, that's probably the biggest guidance, because it includes a lot of information around setting SMART goals and just how, for mentees, how they can come to that first meeting already with some short, medium and long-term goals in place as well. So, Lucy?
I'm sorry, I love talking about goals. So yeah, I guess for me, like, the main thing to remember with goals is, it can be quite intimidating when you think, okay, what's your 5-year plan? What are your goals? And a lot of us are just like, like a deer in the headlights. But when I think about goals, I think about the importance of having something to navigate against. And the goal can change. So I think you can kind of reduce the pressure on goal setting by just talking about, okay, let's set a target, and then we'll start to navigate towards this target, so we're not meandering around, blindly. But sometimes, over time, that goal will reveal itself to maybe be focusing on the wrong thing, and that's cool too. Goals can change, but it just is about it having that North Star to guide the conversation.
Thanks, Lucy. So another question for our mentors: what have you learnt from your mentees?
I'll let you go first, Mario.
Yeah, it's fair to say mentees come from different backgrounds, different stages of their career development. Okay, so I've been fortunate enough to be paired up with people that have had a number of years' experience in the transport sector. My latest relationship with my mentee, relatively young in her career, but certainly given me the opportunity to see where people are in different stages of their career development, and working obviously in terms of where they want to be in time to come from a goals perspective is something that certainly I'm learning as we go along, and something that has been really enriching for myself.
I think one of the main things that I've learnt is the common theme of women's confidence. And like Mario, I've had people early in their career, later in their career, trying to give their career a new boost after having had children. But there's a common theme, and when I think back on myself, is I think they're often a bit of self-doubt and lack of confidence. And even though I've worked in all male, or not all male, but male dominant environments my whole life, I think you have to accept in the end that is something to do with being a female in a male dominated environment. And I think that's where male mentors in programs like this can be really, really valuable, because in the two-way thing, I think they'll see that extra struggle that with a lot of women. Not that it doesn't happen with men in the environment, but as I say, I've seen the theme through different people, and as I say, I had to accept that in myself, which I probably didn't throughout most of my career. You just pretended, oh no, there's no difference. So I think that's probably one of the most poignant learning that I've had out of the program, and I use it to encourage men to participate, particularly as mentors. Lost Bianca.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were still going. So keep the questions coming through, and maybe the Q&A function or the chat, either or, I'll see them. So for your monthly meetings, just want to make for Philippa, Mario, but Judy as well. So what was it like to meet monthly, and did you structure your meetings or let it flow organically? Where and when did you meet?
Well, I suppose let's be clear. COVID-19 changed a lot of things this year in particular. So having the opportunity to form a new relationship in the virtual space has its own challenges, one way or another. We can't literally have that coffee across the table from one another. But having said that, it was certainly an opportunity to still form that relationship. And what we found in the latest relationship that we finished up with around August was now with everything running in the virtual space, we're probably busier now than ever before, each and every one of us. So time is important in all of our calendars. So we pretty much agreed to break up our catch-ups to at least every fortnight, from about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, just to give that quality time, particularly because we're now being, I suppose, thrown from pillar to post now with everything that is in the COVID space. So it's still really important to keep up that conversation and to have that regular checking with the mentee just to see how they're faring, because I'd love to think at the end of all this, our resilience will be better than it's ever been. And it's certainly something that we're all building as we speak. So for me, it's certainly worked well. And the mentee has certainly jumped on board. The regular catch-ups, the fortnightly catch-ups, and then once that has certainly been ingrained, it's certainly led by the mentee from that point forward.
Yes, I think the monthly is a good frequency, and it helps keep the place of the mentor, because if it's more frequent, I think there's a risk you become a bit of a coach as opposed to a mentor. It allows time for the person to go, the mentee to go away and have a go at different things and come back. So I think I've found monthly is a good time. What about you, Judy? No. Judy?
Lost Judy. Other tears. Judy, did you have any comments on the meetings and how structured or organically they flowed?
Oh, sorry, I need to restart my computer previously. So for the meetings, we meet as you say, like 1 hour per month, and in my mentor's office. And we don't have an agenda for each meeting, but we have a clear goal setting at the beginning, is to help me to settling in, to understand the big department, and also to understand Victoria State government. And also the second one is the bold dream for me to, based on my demonstrated potentials, is it possible for me to have a career change? So for each meeting, actually my mentor just track with me for my progress. So we just track, how is it going? And because my mentor is very experienced, he can immediately know where is my missing piece of puzzle, and he can help me immediately. So for example, when he realized I have trouble to update my accounting-based CV for like a future other career, I was amazed for what he did. He gave me his version of his CV editable, and he used to apply his directorial immediately, just email me. So yeah, that's how we run this mentoring relationship and this meeting. I'm really appreciate.
Thanks, Judy. Look, I think that there's so much that you, as mentors, you might underestimate about yourself and about what you do or what you don't know. And really, it's about casting a second set of eyes over somebody else's career goals and what they would like to do. We tend to keep a lot of that personal, or the people that we do chat to our careers about might be friends and family who aren't from our industry, so don't necessarily know what information would be relevant to provide. But I think that with mentoring, there are a lot of support and resources that you can read about it, but very much it's about just responding to the questions and concerns that the mentee bring to you as a mentor. And being forthcoming and responsive and open and sharing, like Judy said. We'll just wrap up with one last question. If you could pass along one piece of advice about the program to potential mentors, what would it be?
I would pass on that the matching works really well. I've had, as Bianca said, three programs of this, and I've been amazed at how well, and I believe Lizzie, that's credit to you for doing the matching. So I think that's one thing I'd pass on to new mentors, is that don't be concerned that, it does happen, but the likelihood is that you'll click with the person that you're matched with quite easily.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, Philippa, that the program has certainly matched mentees and mentors wonderfully well for mine in particular. We're both in round 3, and something tells us, well, for me, I'm certainly looking forward to continuing to be part of this into the future. I think we're fortunate enough to have had some experiences in life that have given us opportunities to share some of that. And certainly one of the things I like is the paying it forward type of scenario in terms of providing people with those insights and those experiences that we've been fortunate enough to gain over the journey, learning from the good and the bad over time, and certainly providing that as part of the guidance in that relationship is something that it's an absolute privilege to be involved. Let's be very clear. You know, each and every one of us have that opportunity to make a bit of a difference to people that, irrespective of where they are in terms of career development and their trajectory, there's certainly something that you want to leave someone better off with that opportunity to work with that individual. And that's something that inspires me on a daily basis.
Thanks, Mario. Judy, Lucy, any last thoughts?
So from a mentee perspective, I know for this mentoring program is for mentor to manage mentees' expectation and goal settings. But I put like in front with my mentor as our first initial meeting, say, I have an open mindset. I'm open for all the feedbacks, all the suggestions. I really want to learn and improve. So one thing I would like to suggest to mentor is, if you see particular aspect and there's a missing puzzle of your mentees, please be open to give to them. Maybe is beyond the original goal, but we're really keen to learn and to improve. So we will appreciate this constructive feedback in a positive way.
Yeah, I think all those comments are really fabulous. There's no kind of one silver bullet for mentoring, but I think you know, one thing we always remind ourselves of Mentorloop is we're talking about human relationships here, and you know, we can create the conditions in which these relationships can form, and we can build resources around them to help them to thrive and be the best version of themselves. But we're just people coming together because, you know, we're grateful for where we are, but we want to develop further, and it's such a beautiful thing to just let that organically flourish into a relationship. And yeah, you know, it is a really privileged thing to be able to be a part of. And so yeah, I'm grateful for every mentoring relationship I've got, and I think just, yeah, if you approach it with that kind of open mind, then you'll get the most out of it.
Well, thanks, Lucy, and thanks again, Judy and Philippa and Mario, for being part of this program. We'll wrap up now. Look, I hope that there was something in there for all of you potential mentors, and we would love to see some applications from you. So just to recap, the applications will open on November 5th and close on December 15th. So that's 5 November to 15 December. We'll be sending the program guidelines out to everybody who registered via Eventbrite. They should also be available via your workplace's intranet. Otherwise, please just contact myself or Lizzie on witprograms@levelcrossings.vic.gov.au. The link to apply is within the program guidelines themselves. And look, don't doubt your ability to be a mentor and to have something to contribute. We all do, and you'll probably surprise yourself. So just to completely wrap up, please apply to be a mentor. Talk to people who you think would be good mentors as well. Maybe it's people who work in your team, maybe it's colleagues or people who report to you. We would love to see applications from you and see you join the Women in Transport mentoring family. So thank you so much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.